And FunctionDungeon is a gamified mathematical website to help teach kids the basics of algebra and functions. So, what is gamification? Well, in short, gamification is the idea of taking elements of video games and adding them to aspects of everyday life. So in this case, teaching algebra to kids. For example, you could use levels and villains in this website in order to make it more fun and more engaging for the students learning. And gamification isn't just a passing fad. In fact, 84% of students think that gamification helps them learn better in a study done by Talent LMS. So, in short, FunctionDungeon is learning functions for students, but it's great for teachers and it's fun for those who are learning. Now, Lucas has a quick video to show that introduces FunctionDungeon. Alright, thanks Lucas. So I'll go a little bit more in depth on what you just witnessed. So what is FunctionDungeon? As I already said, FunctionDungeon is a gamified platform for teaching algebra to students. But how exactly does it work? Well, to start with, we give the students simple lessons on the basics of functions. So for example, we would show them a linear function, and we would explain what each variable does. And then comes the fun part. They can then play as a wizard and fight skeletons using the functions that they just learned how to use. So they can actually change the variables of the function using sliders built into our game, and using that they can plot a curve. So if the skeletons were in a U shape, for example, they would use a parabola and use each variable in order to line the parabola up just right, take each skeleton, and move on to the next level. In case they get stuck, we also have a forum built into the game, easy to access so that students can ask questions, read comments, and interact with their fellow FunctionDungeoneers. Ian's going to tell you about how it all works on the technical end.
Okay. I don't need it. Okay, so basically how it works is all of the assets were made in Blender, which are then exported and used in our Unity project, which is, again, compiled and exported and then used in a Node.js file on a website, which is Marco's website and also has the FunctionDungeoneers forum, which is powered by Firebase.
Thanks, Keen. This logo in the middle, which Keen didn't mention, but in order to get the Unity project onto the web, we had to learn how to compile it into a WebGL format and then host it on our website. So that's another little technicality that we had to surmount in order to get our website to work. So here are some challenges that we ran into. The first one is that parsing user input for functions is oftentimes really difficult, and making a spell follow any function that a user inputs is really hard. In order to do this, Luke made a fantastic postfix compiler and evaluator, which makes it much more efficient to manage these functions. Shout out to Mr. Devon Brown, our teacher, for teaching us the basics in class of postfix evaluation. Another challenge we encountered was connecting the service to a database, because up until that point, the entire app was offline. But when we decided to make a forum, that meant we had to connect it through the internet to a centralized database through Firebase. So that was a big leap that we had to make in about the middle of our project, that we weren't necessarily expecting would be so difficult at the beginning. Lastly, integrating WebGL into the project was really difficult because none of us had really worked with it before, so we just had to read the documentation and figure it out. It was a lot of trial and error to package the Unity project and then upload it on the server, but we ended up getting it to work, and it's pretty seamless, which is really cool. We'll have questions at the end. Thank you. 5 minutes. Oh, 5 minutes. Cool. That's a good question. Yes, we do in fact have 5 minutes left. One final thing that we had to struggle with a little bit was GitHub and collaboration skills. When working with Unity, there's a lot of temporary files and metadata, so we had infinite merge conflicts. But we were able to work it out by being super synced up and knowing exactly what each person was working on at a time. Lucas is going to tell you guys a bit about the lessons that we learned.
Okay guys, our first lesson we learned was communication. At the very start, everybody just had their own idea in their own mind, and they were just working on the same thing, but using like totally different methods. Like for example, Luke was using postfix, and then Keen was using like parametric equations. They were just not compatible. And then, but towards the end, we decided to go towards Luke's method, and then we started getting everything in the same format, and that was just really key towards the success of our project. Another one was not stay up all night and to always stay warm. By 8 a.m., Luke was shivering and he could not keep like a finger straight. It was a disaster right then. Our next one was the importance of good code documentation. Towards the start, we didn't have any documentation. So when we were sharing files with each other, we couldn't tell what this variable meant or what this other variable meant. But towards the end, we started to implement some code documentation, and we were able to figure out what this meant and what that meant and how we could put them together to make a good project. Another thing was team management and role assigning. Like I said at the very beginning, we all were like trying to do the exact same thing using different methods. If we had assigned roles rather and then used our own methods within those roles, we would have been much more successful much earlier. And our last thing was keeping a schedule and time management. This is where Keen went into dad mode and he was like, guys, we have to finish this and make a rough draft by 8:30 today. And it was successful. We were very productive. We were very productive until 8:30.
So we still have a couple things to work on to make FunctionDungeon like super good. And so the first thing is we have to get the projectile to graph and follow more like complex functions like even power of X and sine and stuff like that. Second is I feel like it'd be much more immersive if the particles had like more fancy special effects. And the third thing is, of course, we have to add a multiplayer battle royale mode to FunctionDungeon.
Alright, so I think that about wraps up our summary of FunctionDungeon. If you have any questions, we would love to answer them. And thank you so much for watching.